How's everybody?
Thank you, sir.
We're going to rest.
Yeah,
But you got bigger plans for this flight, this leg, I'll bet.
We're going to record the audio too.
So let me just try and give you a summary of the short stay in Ankara. Had a good constructive conversation with President Erdogan. The fact that Pastor Brunson has now made his way back to the United States, I think, opens up lots of opportunities. We talked about a half a dozen topics. We talked about Iran, that we have Iran sanctions taking place on November 4th, and we are working with the Turks to make sure that we get to the right place. They buy Iranian crude oil. We'd like them to buy less. And there are a whole handful of issues around that we have working groups engaged in, and I think we made a little bit of progress on that this morning as well. We talked about the work that we're doing together in Syria, and I think Ambassador Jeffrey had a chance to talk with you all about that, so I won't spend a lot of time on that, but President Erdogan is fully engaged in ensuring that Idlib province remain inside the agreement that he struck, and we are hopeful that that will remain the case as well. We talked about the Khashoggi incident as well. He made clear that the Saudis had cooperated with the investigation that the Turks are engaged in, and that they're going to share information that they learn with the Saudis as well. There had been a couple of delays, but they seemed pretty confident that the Saudis were going to permit them to do the things that they needed to do to complete their thorough and complete investigation as well.
Sanctions?
I'm sure I'm forgetting something.
Related sanctions? Are you ready to list those?
So we'll have a decision on that shortly. But there were some of the sanctions that were put in place were directly connected to Pastor Brunson, and there's a logic to now removing those as well. But no final decisions been made. I need to talk to the president about that. But we did talk. We talked about that set of sanctions. We talked about work that we were doing in other places together as well.
Did you learn anything concrete about what they had learned about Khashoggi?
No. They want to complete their investigation, and then they will have a process. I'm sure they will have their own prosecutors looking at this as well, since it took place in their country, albeit on consulate property.
Have you heard or asked to hear the alleged audio on the actual murder?
I don't have anything to say about that.
Do you believe that there actually was an incident that took place in the consulate after your talks here in Turkey?
Mr. Khashoggi is missing.
And do we think he's missing in the consulate?
I'm not going to get ahead of. We have two countries conducting investigations. They'll do that, and the world will get a chance to see the facts that they turn up during their investigation.
How high up do you think this goes? I mean, MBS told you guys
they're gonna do their investigation. I know you all are gonna ask questions. I'm gonna be very consistent. We're gonna give them the space to complete their investigations of this incident, and when they issue their reports, we'll form our judgment about the thoroughness, depth, and the decisions they make about accountability connected to that.
But the Saudis lied initially, saying that he left the building. I mean, that's obviously.
We'll see what the investigation shows.
Sir, what we saw in public looks like business as usual. Could you talk a little bit about how the tenor of your private conversations may be?
You mean with the Turks today?
With the Saudis.
Well, I think I've said all I'm going to say about the conversation with the Saudis. Look, we had very direct conversations about this, the seriousness of this, how serious President Trump is taking this, how serious the United States will take this. No one should mistake that we're looking to see the results of these investigations too, and we think it's important that they get them right, and we're hopeful it'll happen quickly as well. But as for responses that the United States will take, we need to know the facts before we can begin to formulate what the appropriate response for this would be. I do think it's important that everyone keep in their mind that we have lots of important relationships, financial relationships between U.S. and Saudi companies, governmental relationships, things we work on together all across the world. The efforts to reduce the risk to the United States of America from the world's largest state sponsor of terror, Iran. The Saudis have been great partners in working alongside us on those issues. I could go on about places where the Saudis and the Americans are working together. Those are important elements of U.S. national policy that are in Americans' best interests. And we just need to make sure that we are mindful of that as we approach decisions that the United States government will take when we learn all of the facts associated with whatever may have taken place.
Just a couple more questions.
But if it's found that they actually killed a journalist, is that in America's best interest in terms of values to be working with the Saudis?
I'm not going to speculate. Obviously, if a country engages in activity that is unlawful, it's unacceptable. There's no one is going to defend activity of that nature. We just need to simply say what happened.
There has been some criticism that if you take off the table at the beginning that the relationship, this long-term relationship, is not going to be harmed, that there's less reason for the Saudis to take you seriously on this issue. How do you address that?
Yeah, I'm convinced that the Saudis understand that America is taking this seriously, and I am hopeful that the Saudis take this as seriously as they indicated to me yesterday that they would. Time will certainly tell. We'll get to see the investigation and we'll see the results of it. But I think they understand the serious nature of the work that they're doing, the accusations that are being leveled against them as well.
Did you talk about Fethullah Gulen with the Turks?
We did. We did talk about Fethullah Gulen. We talked about the set of issues surrounding that organization as well. It's something that the Turks remind us of often, and we're mindful of places that we can work with them to make sure that we all have a shared set of facts as well.
Last question, we're going to have to go wheels up.
But it's mostly not a State Department issue. It's mostly a Justice Department issue. So better for the Justice Department to answer questions about that than me.
The situation.
Go ahead, ask. You haven't asked a question yet. Go ahead.
Okay. I guess my question is, with the Saudis and everything we've seen so far, do you trust them? Why do you keep saying for the investigation? You keep seeing a lot of stuff that's just sort of with information coming out with they painted the consulate. Senator Corker didn't believe it when he talked to the Saudi ambassador to America when they talked about they didn't have tapes of people coming in and out of their consulate. So why give them so much benefit of the doubt right now with their investigation to see where it comes? Yeah,
I keep hearing that we're giving them some benefit of the doubt. They're going to do an investigation. And when the investigation comes out, we'll evaluate it. It's not about benefit of the doubt. It's that it is reasonable. It's reasonable to give them a handful of days more to complete it, so they get it right, so that it's thorough and complete. And that's what they've indicated they need. And I'm hopeful and then we'll get to see it. We'll evaluate this on a factual, straight up basis.
Just a handful of days. Is that actually a time frame that you're thinking of?
Sooner's better than later. Yes. For everyone involved in this, for the family. I had a chance to speak to Jamal's fiancée. Sooner's better than later for everyone.
Okay, we gotta go.
Yeah.
Anything with the Turks on the S-300s or S-400s?
No, nothing to add. We talked about issues related to our strategic cooperation on systems like that, but nothing to add in terms of where we'll go from here.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.